Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Great. Love
That's
it.
better.
That's better.
How have you been? How are things?
Yeah, I've been good. Things are easy, relaxed. I'm home with the wife. The little one is at his grandparents, so a little bit of peace and quiet at the moment. But we relax over here. We all right. How are
Okay.
you?
I'm doing great. No complaints here. None
Okay.
whatsoever. None
Okay.
whatsoever.
Okay. Nice.
So, question. Okay, so from the last time we talked about setting your boundaries, right?
Yes.
And teaching people how to treat you by speaking up for yourself and communicating effectively and not allowing people to take advantage of your time and take advantage of your kindness. Um, how has that been since then?
Um, I think it's been okay. I haven't been put in a situation during that time where I had to really test it. So I don't have a definitive answer for you in that regard. But
Hmm.
um, I think I will know when I've been put in that situation again and how I will react to it and how it will be at that time.
Okay. And how are things going with communicating with your wife about time and time management and the things that you need and getting able to understand where she is?
Yeah. So we had that discussion and we made an agreement. Like I will buy a little bit of a timer, so she knows when the timer rings. Okay, I have like maybe 10 or 20 or 30 minutes.
Hmm.
So we ordered one, and she told me like, okay, I'm willing to try it. Like I'm not doing it on purpose, so I know it's important to you. So in that regard, that's amazing. And she also told me like, but when it doesn't happen for me to control my emotions as well, so it's a two-way street in that regard. So we'll have to see, but the first step we have the first step is there, so we're trying to work on it together, so I think that should be fine.
Okay, so she's supportive.
Yeah, she always is.
Very good. Okay, I wanted to dive in a little bit about um, your reason for not necessarily speaking up for yourself and allowing people to kind of get away with certain things. Um, I know that you said you have been through a lot in the past that kind of plays out in what you allow in your present situation and how you view people and how you treat people and how you allow people to treat you. So, what type of things have you been through, and how is it connecting to the areas of work you need now?
Okay, so I think most of the things um, that are, I think, primarily me um, being when I was younger, being in the streets and doing things I shouldn't be doing. So involving myself in criminal activities, going to jail, and that type of stuff. I know how I can react in certain situations. So I will always give somebody his respect, but at a certain point when I feel disrespected at a certain level, um, I can take it to a whole nother level and switch in seconds. I can switch my emotions, and um, it's hard for me to say what I how I will react in that regard. So that's the reason I primarily just let things be, because I know if I really get into it and really get mad, and it's something it's hard for me to control, because uh, I always talk about this. Sometimes I talk with my mother about it, and she always told me like, I don't know, like she's always scared of me doing or being put in situations where I go back to how I used to be. And she tells me like, I'm proud of how you are now, but I'm still scared. Like if somebody switches the presses the wrong button, how you gonna react in that regard? So um, and I understand her. So it's hard for me as well because I haven't been put in that situation in quite some time. But I don't know if it's really gone or that little spot is still there in the back of my mind that can allow me to take it to the extreme in that regard.
So you go from being okay to all the way left, being super angry. There's no in between.
No, that's the hard part. There's no in between. So if you get me really mad, it's from 0 to 100, like in that regard. Like I it's hard for me to explain because there are things that can make me just a little bit like there's a difference with me between mad and like irritated. So when my
Mhm.
wife is late, I can get irritated and it affects my mood in the regard like I don't have the energy to go do the things that we agreed upon or make it a good day. So I'm irritated, but I'm not really mad. But when I get mad, it's like to the extreme, and I'm ready to do whatever at that moment when what I think will make me feel better.
Okay.
Nine out of 10 times is not the right thing to do.
Okay. And have you always is it anger that comes from just what you've done, or have you had that level of, 0 to 100 real quick since you were younger?
So if you ask me, I would say it's because of the things I've done. But if you would ask my mother, and it's something we don't really discuss too often. But when I was younger, my mom and my dad were in an abusive relationship, and um, I could remember like when they would get into it, it would get really physical. And my mother thinks that the things that I've saw at that period of time affected me. That causes me to lash out in some regards quicker. Um, and maybe she's right, but I don't know for sure. Like I never spoke to my father again from the age of 3 or 4, 4 maybe 5. I never spoke to him again, so um, it could be something that's underneath the surface for me, but I don't really know. It's
So you
hard
don't
for me to say where it stems from.
you don't talk to him at all. No
No, I haven't
contact.
seen. No, I haven't seen.
Okay. So do you think that you are harboring bottled up or suppressed anger? Your inner child is holding on to anger from that? I mean, if that's what your mother is saying,
Yeah, that's what she's saying.
you believe that?
Um, sure, there are some things you're still mad about, like, um, but I don't know if that's the reason that's making me go from 0 to 100 like that fast. I don't know if that's the primarily reason. So sure, if you ask me, am I still mad about some things that happened? Sure. Like I would love to have a father that was there for me all the way. I would love to have my mother in a happy relationship with my biological father back in the day. So yeah, there are things that you miss, like when you go on school trips, your father isn't there, or parent teacher conferences when he isn't there. So sure, you miss a lot of things in that regard, but I don't know if that's the main reason that makes me go from 0 to 100 when I really get mad.
Okay. Have you been able to forgive?
Um, working on it,
Okay.
working on it,
Because
working on it.
forgiveness is not for the other person necessarily, but it's for you,
Sure.
so that you can kind of release that and it doesn't harbor and manifest in other ways. So it may not necessarily take you from 0 to 100 with your anger, but it could have very well played a part in a lot of your choices and decisions, right? That kind of took you on the path because you were kind of holding on to some of the childhood things. And usually, young people have the tendency to rebel or act out. Not always, but it's sometimes one of those causes. And then you don't know, where your anger stemmed from or why you made the choices that you made, right? So just having that dealt with, that forgiveness and releasing and letting go so that it doesn't have any power over you is really good. And then have you been able to forgive yourself for the things that you've done that you don't like that you've done?
Um, Mostly, I think I forgave myself. It's just a little bit of more disappointment than really angry at myself at this point, and from some of the choices I made. Like, um, but it's not that I'm still really hard on myself on the things that I've done. I think the things I've been through and the things that I've done have shaped me into what I am now. So in that regard, I don't really hold hold that against myself in that regard.
Okay. Well, that's really good because forgiving yourself and not shaming yourself and not carrying that burden of guilt should strengthen you, right?
True.
And then you're not judging yourself. So you don't feel as though when people treat you poorly or they don't respect you, um, or they take you for granted, that you're not teaching them how to treat you without your acknowledgement. Like subconsciously, you're teaching them how to treat you by how you treat yourself and how you feel about yourself and how you think about yourself and what you say to you about you. People will pick up body language, and people, I always say, people will test the waters and kind of try you and see what they can get away with
True.
sometimes. And it's not necessarily that they're pushing your buttons and kind of poking the bear on purpose, but it could also be a part of their own personality, um, and have something that they've dealt with in their past. I believe that people bring their experiences, and their learned behaviors into their relationships, whether that's their work relationships, their friendships, their relationships with their significant other or their spouse, right? And you have to teach them how to treat you by speaking up for yourself and not shaming yourself. You know what I mean? Like I've
True.
had a situation like that where I allowed a lot of things because I felt like, well, maybe somewhere way back in my mind is I thought I deserved it, or maybe this is kind of like punishment for what I've been through,
Hmm.
or I'm going to allow them to do certain things so that they don't ever find out who I used to be or the
Hmm.
mistakes that I used to have, and I don't want to blast off on them or run them away or scare them away and then lose them because of my behaviors. But that's not necessarily, you know, the case. You can make mistakes and still be worthy of love. You can make mistakes and still be worthy of respect and honor, right?
True.
And so that's something I really want you to focus on, because you were saying before that at work people take advantage of you and you don't say anything. You get angry, but you get angry at home. You won't get angry at the person who made you angry, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But just what you said, like when when I was doing the things that I was doing, like we had when when you're in that lifestyle, you have a code. Like we the things that I've done, the way you justify it in that regard is you do it to people who are in that same lifestyle as you. So that's how you justify it to yourself. And sometimes when I reflect on it and people make me mad, like in let's say the regular life that I have right now, is
Mhm.
how I justify it in my mind is like they don't know the level. I can go to, so they don't know about the life that I live. Just let it be, because you know where it can go from here. So then I still get mad, but I rather get mad at home than get mad in that situation at that time, at that moment, because I know what it could go to. And for the normal human being, they will look at it like, how can you say it in the right way? They will look at it like, okay, this is crazy. This is not normal. But for me, it's normal when you disrespect me. Like, you can't tell somebody how to react to the disrespect you show them. So my mother always told me, like, if you push somebody, you can't get mad when they kick you in the head. Like, that's how it goes, and that's how I look at things. So that's the reason I usually just avoid getting mad, because for them, when they get mad, it's like maybe screaming or pushing and shoving. But when I get mad, it's a whole different mad.
Okay. And is there a way to find a happy medium in between 0 and 100? Is there a 25? Is there a 50? Is there maybe a 75, 60, 40?
Like, I, I don't. I think so. I like. I think so, because I think it depends on the situation. Like, how disrespected are you feeling at that time, or what is the primarily case? Like, I think in that regard, like, if somebody, let's say, a crazy example, steps on your shoe or something, you're not gonna hit the person, or like, it depends on the situation, on what level you felt disrespected at, and how far they took the disrespect. I think, in how you react and how you lash out in that situation. That's, I think.
Right. But if you don't speak up for yourself and you don't vocalize that you feel disrespected, you rob people the opportunity to change their behavior by keeping the offense to yourself. You know what I mean? And one way that I tend to work on going from 0 to 100 myself is if somebody does something that makes me upset. Number one, no one can make me do anything that I don't allow. So I have to allow someone to make me upset. I have to allow someone to take me out of character. I have to allow it. You know what I mean? That's having and me practicing uh, emotional management and self control is key. And one way to do that is, I think I talked to you last time about people's intent, ill intent. So if you have people at work, or say you have, your wife and she does something to make you angry, and take a moment and pause and just take a deep breath and say, is she the type of person, or are the work people, are they the type of people that would piss me off for no reason, or make me angry for no reason, or have ill intent towards me? And if the answer is no, then what you want to do is find out the why. Why did you say what you said? Why did you do what you did? Because for whatever reason, they feel justified in their behavior, or they may not, or it may have come out wrong and offended you, right? They have no ill intent, but their delivery was disrespectful, right? And you give people the opportunity to check themselves by making them aware of the offense and giving them the opportunity to apologize and then change it. And that can keep you from getting angry because they didn't intend to do it. So you can't get mad at someone and angry at someone who just so happened to not be able to communicate something to you as kindly as you want to.
Mm.
Maybe they don't know how, right? If there's someone who has a handicap, right, and they can't use their arm or their legs very well, would you get upset with them if they made a mistake, or if they accidentally knocked over a glass? If they had a cast in their arm, you would say, well, they didn't do it on purpose. You
True.
know, that's the best that they could do with this in the situation that they're in right now, right?
True.
So a better another way of doing that is kind of looking at people in that area and saying, I don't know what's going on in your personal life, or I don't know how you were raised, or what your past experiences are, but and I know you have no ill intent, so I'm not going to get angry with you, but I need to tell you what not to do so that you don't continue to do it again and again and again, right? And
True.
then you give them the space to grow and change and not do it again. But if you go all the way to 100 and curse them out and go crazy on them, then now you guys are both angry, and that is not going to solve the problem. That is not going to make a healthy environment to work in. And that's not, if you're with your significant other, that's not going to be a calm home to be walking around in. You guys are going to be walking on eggshells because now you guys have both offended each other, both pissed each other off, and it takes a while to come down off of that, and then be sorry for it and then change. And that's a way to be able to change in advance. Does that make sense? Is that something that you think you can do?
Yeah, it's something I'm surely going to try. So it's something that I hope I don't have to try it. So that means people aren't disrespecting me. But if that situation occurs, that's something I would definitely try and try to apply.
Right. And then do you guys have meetings, like group meetings at work?
Like at this moment, I'm working for myself, so I don't have the office work like when I used to have when I wasn't working for myself and worked at a company. So at this moment, I'm not working for a company, so I don't really have the group meetings. It was just something I dealt with when I worked for a company that I brought to your attention at that time.
Okay. So you don't have anybody that you really interact with at this moment in person.
No, so usually when I interact with people, it's like clients or other companies I contact in that regard.
Okay. So at least you don't have to deal with that as of yet. I know COVID is going on, and people in the pandemic are going bonkers, with having to do everything remotely or virtual meetings. So, but that's definitely something I want you to consider when going back and interacting with people. But until then, I think that this is a great cheat sheet, especially when doing things via Zoom and remote, virtually, is write an email. If
Okay.
you can't seem to kind of get it out or talk to them, write an email expressing, the offense. And that way it kind of takes the anger out of it, and people have no choice but to read and hear it within their thoughts, and then digest it, process it, and then reply back to you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How communication between you and your wife? Do you guys communicate well?
Yeah. Like I was thinking for a second, but actually we communicate very well. Like it's still um like we've been together like for six, almost 7 years now. So you get used to each other. You know what to do, what not to do. It's just the small things that will, I think, will always be there, that will get on each other's nerves in some regard. So, but the communication is okay. I feel like if there's something that's bothering her, she can come to me, and the other way around. If something that's bothering me, I can always tell her like. That something is bothering me without immediately getting into fights and all that type of stuff. So in that regard, that the communication is perfect at this time.
That's really good. That's really good. And you guys now have, with your little one, um, how are you guys managing your quality time on top of work and then on top of being parents to a new little one?
Yeah, so that's something that really can get better. Like she tells me a lot, like I need some quality time with you as well. So I get it, and that's something like in the Netherlands right now. It's like she has a job, but the government has closed the casino. She works at a casino, and they closed the casino. So she gets paid, but she doesn't have to go to work. So now she's at home, and when I'm at home as well, and the little one is at home, like there's no really time and um, places we can go just by ourselves to make some quality time. Like let's go to the movies, or let's have something for dinner. So it's not the type of quality time that we used to have, or the time that we could free up for each other. And that's something like it's been now for over a year in the Netherlands, the COVID. So she really misses it. And I think it was last week she told me like, okay, how can we make sure that we still got our quality time? Because it's not that I don't love my son. That's what she told me, but I love you too. So it's important for me to have some quality time without the little one involved, or screaming in the background, or needing my attention, or needing your attention. That's something we definitely need to work on and find a solution on how we could manage that and make sure she gets and we get the quality time that we also need from each other.
So let me ask you, with work, you have a calendar, right? To kind of manage your meetings, manage your appointments, things that you have to do on your to-do list. You kind of prioritize your tasks with a schedule, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be totally honest. I do have a schedule, but I'm kind of a workaholic. So if my schedule is done or something pops up, I think is interesting. I will, even if we're sitting on the couch, I will grab the laptop and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I need to go do this." So it's something that's hard because I really don't like the tight schedules. So I'm trying to, like, nowadays I'm trying to get a tight schedule so I know, okay, I have an appointment at 7:30, I have an appointment at 8:30. So between that those two appointments I have an hour. So I'm trying to, but it's hard for me because usually I, when I'm busy working, I know myself, if I take my attention off work, it's hard for me to snap back into that focus. So
Mhm.
I usually try to pull it all nighter, or just keep working until I'm really really done with all the appointments.
Okay, so that's really good. So that way you're not off track, right? You get everything done. What I want you to try and do is create a relationship calendar, right?
Okay.
Relationship schedule for your relationship. And the same way you manage your tasks and make sure that it's done, that can be the same thing that you do for your relationship. So on Fridays, and Sundays, or whatever day you feel will work for the both of you need to schedule a calendar date with dinner with my wife. And even if you don't go out, you can
Mm-hmm.
order in
Sure.
and have food delivered, right? You can order flowers and have flowers delivered. You can put that on a schedule. I don't know what they have out there in the Netherlands, but out here, you can schedule flowers to be delivered every week or every 2 weeks
Sure.
or once a
Yep.
month, right? And it's those little things that you can do when you're really, really busy. You can schedule something for her, and it's just those little things, those little random things out of nowhere that it actually means a lot to women. And she'll notice that you are prioritizing quality time with her.
Okay. Yeah,
Does that make sense?
that makes sense. That's something I could work with that.
Right. See? And then you have like a full healthy balance, and she won't think that you're so busy with work that you don't have any time for her. And that it happens especially with having a new baby, and then a busy
Yeah.
schedule with your career.
Yeah, so like she knows how. Like it's not that I'm too busy with her, but it's like when we schedule in to have quality time with each other, or order some food in and watch a movie. Like it's still different when the little one is here because he needs attention. So even though you're trying to focus on each other, he needs attention as well. So he will he still has to give him his dinner, or change his diaper, or put him to bed, or make sure he goes shower on time. So all those things that takes away of the quality time you actually intended to have for each other. So that's the hard part, I guess, because when like I think within a few months we can try to put them on like the kindergartens in the Netherlands. So
Hmm.
that's something we need to look at, and it will free up us free us up some more. So I think it's a little bit of patience for the both of us to make sure we have some more time for each other.
Well, what time do you guys put him to bed?
8 o'clock.
Okay. So
8 o'clock.
is it possible to schedule your quality time after putting him to bed so that there's no interference?
Yeah, it could be, but usually, knowing my wife and knowing myself, like
You're
we don't
tired?
have like a specific time when we go eat. So like, if I'm hungry at 6, I'm eating at 6. If I'm hungry at 5, I'm eating at 5, or I'm hungry at 10, I'm eating at 10. So that's the hard part, because sometimes um, we we decide like, okay, let's order some food in, and then we order some food, like let's say at 6 o'clock, and then we eat, and then we were like, okay, this is our quality time, let's eat together. And then all of a sudden it dawns on us like, oh wait, snap, it's 6 o'clock for him as well, like he needs to eat as well. So you're eating your own food, you're trying to give him food, and then when you're done, it's like, oh, we need to change him, he needs to go to bed at 8 o'clock. And when you have done all that, you'll be like, all right, I'm tired. It's a wrap for me as well. So, like,
Yeah.
it's hard, because usually after 8, like I'm trying to go, I try to go at bed at 10 o'clock, because I wake up very very early. So, usually I go to bed at 10. So like that's a 2 hour window, and it's hard. It could be, but I think it's hard to fit that in that time slot.
Yeah. But just you guys, this means you guys have to be creative in what you
Yeah,
do, right? So if you eat early or eat around the same time your son eats, then putting him to bed. If you're both really tired, then that's the time to, okay, this is movie night for us. Then this is we'll watch a movie um, before bed, or we'll read, or some form of intimacy or bonding that you guys can have with just you two. If that means
yeah,
getting up a little earlier before he wakes up too, that might that might be helpful. But everybody's not a morning person, so
true.
that might not be the case for you guys. But really trying to find a way to insert the quality time,
Yeah,
because
it's
your son
more.
is always going to need time.
Yeah, I think it's something more on my part than it's on her part, because
Okay.
exactly what you said. Like, when he goes to bed at 8 o'clock, we could make it a movie night. But like, I'm a lousy guy to watch a movie with, because when I watch a movie at 8 o'clock, at 8:15, I'm asleep. So,
Oh,
like sometimes when we lay together on the couch, like I love to lay on the couch with her, but 9 times out of 10 times I have a long day, and then I fall asleep, and then she's like, I'm watching this movie by my damn self. Like this, this is not it. Like, so it's something I need to work on. Like, okay, what can we do that makes sure I'm staying awake and she likes it as well. So in that regard, you're right. We have to be a little bit more creative, and I have to put maybe a little bit more effort in that as well, to make sure I match that appointment as well.
see, yeah, you can do it. I mean, you just have to literally write it down and schedule it the same way you would schedule work, right?
Yeah,
And
true.
another thing is scheduling time for yourself. You know what I mean? Quality time with yourself. How do you recharge? What are the things that you do for yourself, for your mental and emotional well being and physical health?
Yeah, like now it's a little bit hard. Like now we can, since a couple of weeks, we can go and train. So I try to go and sport.
Mhm.
I do that one, two times times a week. So that's something I usually do. And other than that, that's not a lot. I don't have a lot of time to really recharge or do other things. So when I go to sleep, that's my moment to recharge.
But you don't actively do anything for your well-being. It's that you're not prioritizing it.
Mm, I don't think so. No, 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 I don't.
Well, it's something I think you should do because you don't want to burn out and you don't want to get so overwhelmed with trying to make all the other relationships work that you don't work your own relationship with yourself, right? Because you can't give from an empty cup. And in order to show up for your best self, you have to care for yourself the same way you would care for others and care for work, right? Making sure you take care of your body, making sure that you take care of your mind and your heart is really important, right? Setting personal goals, not just work goals, but personal goals for yourself, because like I said before, you teach people how to treat you. If quality time with yourself is important, then that means quality time elsewhere is going to be important. But if you find it hard to take care of you, it'll also be somewhat of a struggle when trying to take care of others. And that's a part of the relationship schedule. I want you to, put stuff on there for your wife, but also put some stuff in there for you. You know, do I read a book that I like for myself? Do I go for a walk? Yeah, you go to the gym, that's really good. But am I being consistent with that? Because it releases stress and and it releases
Yeah,
toxins out of my body. Am I drinking enough water? Like, am I caring for myself? Do I give myself a moment to take work completely off? And it's hard to do that when you're at home because you're working at home. So usually home is the getaway from work. But
true.
now the getaway is the office. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So you have to be able to kind of completely take off work and find a way to decompress and recharge yourself to the best of your ability. And sometimes a lot of people don't know how to do that because they don't know what they like. They haven't taken the time to get to know what it is that they enjoy, truly enjoy for themselves. Do you know what you enjoy for yourself?
yeah. So I really enjoy like playing soccer. That's something I really enjoy. So um, as soon as I think within 2 weeks, they told us we can go play soccer again in the Netherlands. So that will be terrific if I can go and start do that again. So
Mhm.
that's something I really enjoy. Sometimes like um, when I have the spare time, I like to play video games with some of my friends online. So that's something I love to do. But I think that's about it. I'm really a boring person in that regard. I work, I go home, I be with my kid and my wife, and that's it for me.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're able to play soccer. So you're not playing it professionally anymore.
No, no, not anymore. No.
How was that transition going from playing soccer professionally to doing what it is that you're doing right now?
Hard, because it's something you work for all your life. Like when I was young, that the only dream I whenever somebody asks me what is it you're gonna be, it's like I'm gonna be a soccer player. I don't care what you say. Like I go to school because my mom is forcing me to go to school, but that's the only reason I'm at school. So it's hard when you put in the work and um, eventually you don't like maintain the level of professional soccer player, and it's like if you're not good enough, that's one thing, but it's just more uh, my own psyche and the way I handled the things off the court that led in me not making it to where I thought I could make it. So it's something, and I think that's the hardest part. Like if you're not good enough, it's hard, but you will find a way to deal with it. But now
Mhm.
it's something that you had in your own control, and you didn't manage it correctly. So that's a harder part, I think, to accept then when you're just not good enough.
So what do you mean by you didn't manage your opportunity?
Like the distractions are like off the court, like I'm not talking about women or that type of stuff, but more like I grew up in a neighborhood like it was kind of a rough neighborhood, and I got pulled in right with fast money on how you like at that time we had contracts, but it wasn't like a big contract. It's like a youth contract, and you would get some money, but it wasn't the money you dream of. Like okay, I'm gonna buy my mama a house. So. And I saw my mama working two jobs, so it was really hard on her. So uh, I got pulled in quite easily into okay, let's go do this. So you have something in your pocket, you can help your mother out. So in that regard, that's the type of distraction I'm talking about. And eventually, it led to me being arrested and doing all kinds of crazy things at that time.
And that's how you kind of got cut off from going further with your
True.
soccer career.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been able to think about that and then just process it and forgive yourself for those mistakes? Or are you still really hard on yourself and you're kind of carrying that guilt a little bit?
No, I used to not anymore. I think I've I'm cool with it now. Like back in the day, I was like, okay, I was really hard on myself, and I blame myself like a lot for the things that I've done. But now I'm more at ease with it. I'm like, okay, I had some great experiences, great memories, great friends that I still have from the time that I've played. So. Um, it's not something that still weighs as a burden on my shoulder in that regard. So no, not that hard.
That's really good. So now you're not carrying it into there. So what made you decide to get into the field that you're in now from soccer? Why not choose to be a soccer coach um, for other professional athletes? Why do what you're doing now?
So that's a good question. I'm still actually I love being a coach. So I'm currently also doing the training. So you have a education in the Netherlands where you can become a soccer coach. So I'm currently still busy with that. So I'm trying to learn how to be a coach. So it's something I would love to do for the younger generation. So that's something I'm working on. But the reason I'm in the field that I am right now is um, because of the things that I've been through when I was a soccer player. It was hard for me to manage all the distractions, and um, I think a lot of people underestimate the things that come with it. Like my mother always told me, like my mother thought playing soccer was the easiest thing in the world. She's like, you just run behind the ball. It's nothing. Like you got talent. Like that. Like I'm happy you got talent, but it's not that hard. Like it's not like you're a pilot or you're a surgeon. Like that's a hard job. That's something people's life are at stake. Like running behind a ball is not that hard. And technically she's right, but the pressure that comes with it, I think most people don't realize the type of pressure you're under when you play at a certain level, and what it can do to you mentally. And when I talk to, because prior to helping sport organizations, I was busy with mental health trainings,
Mm-hmm.
and that was primarily because um, I went from one of the biggest prospects in the Netherlands to almost committing suicide um, because I wasn't able to deal with my emotions and handle uh, the things that was happening in my private life, and I didn't know how to find an escape or how to find help, and that's something I think is very important, and I think it's something that a lot of kids struggle with, and I think that's something I would love to help people with to find a way or a solution on how to deal with those problems, because I know what it can do to you when you're not meeting your own expectations, let alone other people's expectations. So that's the primary reason that I decided to focus on helping people with their mental health and also with their professional career in that regard.
How did you get out of the slump that you were in at that time? How did you come out of that not and still end up being here and choosing to stay?
Uh, Part luck and part my wife. So, uh, okay, so it's a little bit hard for me to talk about certain situations, but um, so I tried to commit suicide, and at that point the gun jammed. So um, I called my wife when it didn't happen, and um, I don't know why I called her. I can still tell you today what the reason is. I decided to call her, but I remember I was crying, and she was crying as well and begging me to come home. So from that moment on, she actually took it on herself to help me find help, because she didn't know a lot of things that I was struggling with in my mind. Because like when people get to know me, I'm a fun guy. I like to make jokes all the time. I like to laugh. I like to make other people feel comfortable. I'm a really happy guy in general. So a lot of people always view me as like a particularly strong guy. Like he's confident in himself. Like he has everything in order, and he's always laughing. He's having a great time, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's the way she viewed me as well. So it was a big shock for her to find out all the things, because I'm not really a talker. So if I have some things that are weighing on me, I will keep it to myself and just bottle it all up until one day it will spill out. Um, so she forced me to find help, go to therapy, and try to make sure I step by step get better and deal with the things that I was dealing with at that time. So part luck, part a big part my wife.
Thank you for sharing that. So, how do you keep from ever going all the way back into a low slump? Have you ever felt like life was just so hard that it makes you want to not want to be here? Or is it something where you say, I'm never going to do that again? Nothing is going, no matter how bad it gets, I'm never going back that route.
So I can say I will never go back that route, and that's primarily because like I know the feeling when your father isn't in your life. So that's something I feel obligated to not put my son through that same experience and try to
Mhm.
be there as best as I can for him. So that's the reason I say I will never go back there, because I feel obligated to make sure that I can be the best father for him that I can be. So in that regard, that's my primary motivation, to make sure I don't fall back in that same mindset or in that same feeling that I had at that time.
I think that's really good. And it's strong. It gives you something to, fight for. It gives you something to live for. Do you write things down and go look back at them later and say, "Wow, I've gotten a whole lot better than I used to be"?
I don't write them down, but sometimes when certain situations occur and the way I react to it, I'll be like, okay, we're getting there. But I'm not really writing it down in that sense. No,
Okay. We gotta get you a journal.
you got it.
We gotta get you a journal. But I think it's really good that you can acknowledge it. Sometimes the hardest part is taking the time to self-reflect and making yourself aware, and then knowing how to change those situations, and then actually doing the work to change it, and applying what you learned into your day to day, being able to manage your emotions and grow from it, and heal from it, and understand that your mistakes don't make you, but they're experiences that you have lived through so that you can grow and so you can learn. And if you don't heal from things that you've experienced, uncomfortable experiences or maybe traumatizing experiences, then you'll assume and think that you have suppressed it down, far down enough that you won't think about it anymore, but subconsciously you do, and it manifests in other behavior and other patterns, and other habits that you do that are not the healthiest. Some people use drinking to numb, or smoking to numb, or promiscuity to numb. Some numb themselves from not having to heal themselves with work. They overwork to burn out, right? Because they don't feel comfortable taking the time to sit with themselves and sit with their thoughts, and then dig up all those suppressed feelings so that you can process
So,
them and work through them and heal from them. So they continue to have this weight on you. But I always say, if you wouldn't carry around a backpack full of bricks everywhere you go, then don't carry around all of the experiences that were negative, and not do the work. Like, take the bricks out, because that's what they are. And you don't think about it that way, but that's exactly what they are. No one carries bricks around in a backpack, so why would you carry all that suppressed anger and suppressed disappointment? It's very freeing to let go of what other people may have done to you, or what has happened to you, just with life in general, and say, you know what, I experienced that, it wasn't good for me, but I took a lesson from it, and I am now better because, or I will be a better parent because, I'll be a better friend because I've experienced a horrible friendship, and I know that that is what I do not want to be. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. But that was something I struggled with because most of the time when people like my mother always told me like um, when I used to bottle things up, I had this since I was little. She told me like, and she always tell me like just like it does nothing for you. Just tell me so we can try to work it out. But um, when other people tell me that, it's like that's easy for you to say because you wasn't there when I was getting arrested. You wasn't there when I was getting shot. You wasn't there when I didn't make it to my big dream. And I did everything on the court that I was supposed to do, and I worked as hard as anybody. You wasn't there, so it's easy for you to say just get over it or deal with it that way. But you wasn't there, so or you wasn't there when my mother and my father were arguing and fighting all to the living room. So that's something. that was really hard on me to deal with, and to make sure that it doesn't affect me in in day-to-day decisions that I make or situation that I was put in. And I think sometimes it's still hard in some areas for me, because I'm a person. I will give people a lot of leeway, but when there's when the moment is there for me to be like, okay, that's enough. Um, Usually people tell me it comes without a warning, and that's something I really need to work on, because I can imagine from the other side, like if you're thinking it's okay, he's not saying nothing, I'm okay, it's okay, and all of a sudden I get an outburst and we get into a huge fight. You're like, okay, where did that come from? So it's something I need to work on, but I'm working on it, and step by step I'm getting there. I hope so.
You will sell. You will sell. You just it just take that time, that quality time that I told you to schedule with yourself. You use some
Sure.
of that time to write down what are some things that I'm holding on to. What are some things that what are some animosities that I might be harboring, and towards whom, right? And then what do I need to do to be able to release that and feel okay? And sometimes it takes a minute to say, this is what I need in order to let this go. This is what I maybe need to hear. This is the work that needs to be done. These are the conversations I feel like I may need to have in order to let some of those things go. How can I turn the page? What type of closure do I need to be able to heal from it? And taking that time and doing that is going to be very freeing for you. And it may
Yeah.
seem work, but it's work that you're putting into yourself. That's a big part of self-love and self-care.
Sure. Sure.
Right? So we'll work on that.
Okay. We will.
Okay. That's good. Okay, so that's time. So I'm going to end the broadcast.
No worries.